Hello and welcome to our fifth session here for my 5-day webinar series. And today's Friday, and I will, as it usually happens when I do a series, then for a couple of days, I miss everybody. I'll miss seeing you. I know that I will be seeing you, many of you, on May 7th when we start our next 7-day program, and I'm looking forward to that. Also, I sent in the last night's replay in the email, I sent the link for you to attend the mini 15-minute online 15-20-minute concert that I will offer online on Sunday. I hope that you will sign up and join me. I like to see familiar faces. I will send it again. I'll send the link again when I send out the replay. It'll be a fun time with really great music. Let's get started today. Let me first talk about some of the things that I do. Sometimes I'm reluctant to share, not because it's a secret or anything, or because I don't want you to know what I do. It's just that sometimes what I do may not be the best for somebody else, or it may not work as well. And so I don't want you to think that I have the answer to everything, but I do want to share a few things that I do. One of you says, what time? On Sunday, this little mini concert is going to be at 4 p.m. Pacific time. If you're in the East Coast, that's going to be 7 p.m. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, my approach to this whole thing of whole food, plant-based, and doing webinars and programs is to make it personal and to show myself the way I am. I struggle, and I believe like any addicted person to highly processed food. I think that it will be something that I will always have some kind of a struggle. But the main thing is, number one, to never give up, and number two is to learn and continue learning what works for you. I'm still learning, and I think I will learn until the last minute of my life. So right now, okay, at this point in my life, after 10 years of doing the whole food, plant-based, starch centered way of eating, there are some things that I do. So here we go. Once a month, I do my 7-day program. Sometimes I do it with others, about every other month. And those months that I don't do it publicly, I do it myself. And so how is that in a nutshell? It is basically focusing on food that is entirely whole food, nothing that is powder, nothing that has been dehydrated, nothing that has been put in a blender and torn into a million pieces. It's whole food. So once a month for a week, sometimes longer. The more I do this, the more I see that it expands more. So let's just say for a period of time, I focus on whole food, what we do in the 7-day program, and I eat, everything that I eat is either steamed, it is lightly sautéed, it is raw. Okay. And for those 7 days or 10 days, whatever I decide to do, I don't put anything in an air fryer, or I wouldn't roast at high temperatures, just because I don't want the water to be evaporated. I want the whole package of water and fiber, which creates bulk, which creates the sensation of being totally satisfied. And also because I know that fiber is the main ingredient that our body has to expel a lot of toxins and things that we accumulate. Even if we are good eaters, we may still be carrying toxins from the past. And then if we, for some reason, fall off the wagon and have something non-compliant, for more of the reason. So that's one thing I do. I do a week of purely whole food and plant-based. Another thing that has helped me through my interviews with Dr. Goldhammer, and having had the privilege of attending the True North Health Center in Santa Rosa, California for several times now, I've learned that it's not that difficult to do a 14, 16-hour fast, and this really helps. It really helps with a lot of issues, whether it is craving, whether it is weight loss, whether it is setting your mind to another level. The way this works is you stop eating at about, well, ideally somewhere between 6 and 7 p.m. Let's just say 7, let's say that. So we just stop eating. 12 hours would be by 7 a.m. the next morning. Well, I am never hungry at that time of the day. I start to get hungry at 9, sometimes later, many times later than that. So the idea is that you will go 12 hours to 7 a.m. and then expand to, if you can, 14 hours, so 2 more hours, 9 a.m. And that hopefully even 10, okay? But let's say 9. The thing is that at that point, your body may be starting to burn fat because your glycogen storage is maybe too low, especially if you can get in a little bit of exercise before you put the first bite in your mouth. So from 7 a.m. to 8, let's say 8:30 a.m., don't eat. Then I go out for a walk, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. By the time I get home, then maybe I take a shower, etc. By the time I eat, it's 10. So that's when you really are your body is starting to burn fat. If you do this regularly, and you can, and you will if you do this, you can get used to having a 14-hour period of not eating. This has helped me a lot. Like I said at the beginning, some of these things may not help you, or it may not be the right timing yet, because that's another issue. There is a time for everything and for everyone. 4 or 5 years ago, I don't know if I would have done it. Now it's right. It's the right time. It feels right. It's easy now to do. And number 3, I like to keep a food journal. Food / diary, something. I don't have to write pages and pages and pages, and I leave this activity for the night when I may have a craving, or I may want to, even if it's not a craving of something that is non-compliant, I just want to eat something, and I want to stop eating by 6 to 7. So I like to write down thoughts that I've had during the day and what I ate and how I can change it for the next day. And I mean, just writing. So doing at least 7 days of entirely whole food, plant-based, and as little processing as possible. Implementing a 15 hour window of not eating, and keeping a food journal, diary style thing. Those things have helped me and continue to help me. The other thing that helps me is to keep everything as simple as possible. And that is the goal of the 7-day program, to leave you with several meal ideas that you can make very fast with very few ingredients. And that helps. That really helps when you have easy and fast meals that you can eat during the week. Another thing that helps is to have a compliant kitchen, a compliant home, which I know that it's not easy for everybody. I am lucky that I don't live with people that bring non-compliant food in the house. Do the best. There are some strategies that we talk about in the 7-day program if this is an issue for you. But having, like Chef AJ says, if it's in your mouth, if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. It will eventually end up here. A major part of success is to be part of a support group. I encourage you to find one, whether it is in person, whether it is a Facebook page, whether it is, I don't know, a group of like-minded people. The group that do the 7-day program, we meet every Sunday, and it's just a very healing, very wonderful experience. Even for me, I mean, I love it. So having support, it's quite important. Another thing that I can tell you is that it helps to focus on health and relax a little about the weight. The weight will, if you continue eating a whole food, plant-based way of eating that is whole, the weight will come off, and if it doesn't, you will learn. If you focus on health and you continue to learn, you will eventually learn what to do to lose weight, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Yeah, and then learning some techniques that maybe you will learn on your own, or maybe you will learn by being in a group, of how to stop that little voice in our head that goes, yeah, you can take one bite, it's okay, you know, it's not gonna hurt to eat this, you know, those kind of things that we know that this little thing here and this little thing there then become basically the exception and becomes the rule. So, okay, I do want to talk about something that I think is very interesting and important. Does that morning fast need to include no drinking of coffee or tea to be effective during? Basically, what we do is before we go to bed, we have a glass of water, and then that's it. Now, when you wake up in the morning, you can drink a glass of water, but just plain water. Okay, so that's okay, but no coffee or tea, just water. Okay, so what I want to talk about in the next few minutes. Okay, you put in there herbal tea. I am not an expert on these on fasting, so I can't say anything. And we really aren't. What we're doing is we're not doing a real long fasting. This is a short compared to days and weeks of fasting. This is nothing to do a 14-hour fast. So I don't know. Herbal tea may be just fine. So I just usually what I do is I wake up, I have water, and after a few minutes I kind of wake up. I just go for a walk, and then when I come back from the walk, sometimes then I have herbal tea or something, and sometimes like I said, I go ahead, take a shower, and then it starts, and then I can have tea or whatever it is that I have for drinking in the morning. Yeah, definitely if you have herbal tea or any tea just by itself and not adding any sugar, processed sugar. So the question that I have for you today is, do calories matter? Because I think that some of us in the whole food plant-based world sometimes I think we may be just a little we may be confusing people or deceiving people, not wanting to do it on purpose. But we keep saying that calories don't matter. We don't need to count calories. We don't need to weigh food. We don't need to measure food. And that is true if you're eating a true whole food, plant-based diet, low in fat. Basically, that chart that I showed you with the red line, Chef AJ's chart. Yeah, in that case, calories pretty much don't matter. But let me show you something, okay? So let's see. I made something here, especially for you. This is the only time that we're gonna see this. Okay, so the answer is, well, do calories count? Well, yes and no, it depends. It depends on the kind of plant-based food that you're eating. It also depends on how many pounds you're wanting to lose. Like I've already mentioned, when I needed to lose like 80 pounds, okay, and I gave up all of the animal food and the dairy and the oil. I didn't have to count any calories. I was losing weight like crazy, no counting. As I start to refine my diet, because let's say that you want to lose your last 10 pounds, your last 5 pounds. Well, let me tell you, that's going to take some thinking. It's not going to be like when you needed to lose 80 or 100 pounds. It's not going to be like that. You're going to have to make some changes. So that's why I say yes and no. If you have to lose your last 5 pounds, you're going to have to be, I don't think you have to count calories, but you're going to have to be aware and have an idea of what foods have more calories and fat. So let me explain. Let's do some examples. You know, I was born a teacher, okay? I love teaching. That if there's one thing I know is I'm a good teacher. I love to break things down and put them in different ways so the students can understand. So that let me do an example like I do in my classroom. So let's take 2 slices of whole wheat bread, okay? The average is an ounce of each slice, and the average is that it's going to be 70 calories per slice. So if I have 2 slices, I'm going to have 140 calories. Then I have a medium tomato that I slice. A tomato has only 25 calories if it's medium size. And a small cucumber, only 16 calories, okay? So I slice it, and it's about a cup. So if I have my 2 slices of whole wheat bread with a medium tomato and small cucumber, I have only eaten 181 calories. That's like nothing, okay? And what makes this better is that it also matters where your calories come from. Because if I had 181 calories that come mostly from fat, that fat is stored almost immediately in my fatty tissue. It goes, boom, it goes directly there and it's stored because we are designed to be fat storing machines, okay, from the Stone Age up until now. So look at that. That sometimes is my breakfast. Not every day and not every week even, but if I want to have it, I have it. And that's 181 calories. It's mostly whole, other than the bread, and that's the number of calories. So what happens if I added to this a cup of roasted eggplant, which I could mash so it would be like a spread? That would add 66 calories. That's still very low for a breakfast. It's 247 calories of whole food that doesn't have any added fat or sugar or salt or oil. So it is readily available energy for the body. What happens if I add half of a medium avocado? So I take a medium avocado, I cut it in half, I slice it, and I put those slices. So now that brings me to 300 calories. It's like having a bowl of oatmeal, okay? A bowl of oatmeal is 300 calories without counting the fruit that I put on it. So I'm showing you this not for you to start counting calories now. I'm showing you this so that you can now get an idea of what calorie density is. All of these are healthy. They're all whole food and plant-based. Yes, maybe not all of them will be conducive to weight loss if I only have to lose 5 pounds, okay? But is it unhealthy? No, it's not unhealthy. Okay, so now let's compare that to 1 pound of vegetables. So this is what I do sometimes, okay? Sometimes in the morning I eat my either steamed or roasted vegetables. So I have a small zucchini, I have a cup of Brussels sprouts, a cup of broccoli, a cup of cauliflower. All of that adds up to about a pound. It's a lot of food when you see this. It's a lot of food, I'll show you. That is only 130 calories with virtually no fat. Wow. So do you mean to say that veggies for breakfast could be a game changer? Of course it could. Why do you think Chef AJ does that? It fills you up. It's tons of fiber and water, okay? And what would happen if I add a small potato to that? If I wanted to have some starch to be full for even longer? Well, a small potato is only 110 calories, so that it's only 240 calories, okay, of water, of water and fiber and a little bit of starch. So let's see if I can show you this video here.
Okay, guys, for those of you who may think that 2 pounds
of veggies is a lot. This 2 zucchinis in this eggplant, it's not big, it's not big. It's 2 pounds. When I cook these, when I roast them, there will be a lot less. That's 2 pounds. This is another example of 2 pounds. Half of a large red pepper, a very small onion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mushrooms, and a little tray of Brussels sprouts. That's 2 pounds. So all of this is 4 pounds, and you'll see what this looks like once they're cooked. You can eat this easily. This for breakfast, this for lunch, or vice versa. Well, here they are, all cut up and ready to go in the oven. The veggies are cooked. I'm going to mix them up, turn them over. They smell wonderful. My mouth is watering. And actually, I think I can combine now both pans into one. So you see how, even though it looks like a lot, it does reduce. So this is 4 pounds. That's not much. I'm going to combine those into these. Maybe I'll put them in the oven for just a few more minutes, but basically they're done. Then we're gonna drizzle some balsamic vinegar or just eat them like this. This was just meant to show you what that 2 pounds of vegetables, it's not as much as we may think that it is. So let me go back to my, hold on, let me go back to my PowerPoint here and share that with you. And then we'll finish with that and we can discuss some other details. Okay, so here is the video. Okay, so the 2 slices of whole wheat bread, I also wanted to compare it with, instead of putting vegetables on the whole wheat bread, putting a tablespoon of peanut butter, which is 100 calories. But the reason I put this here is because here is where things start to get interesting. Peanut butter is about 80 to 85% fat. Okay, yes, it is a plant fat, but it's fat. The body stores it as fat. This is where Dr. McDougall comes in and he says, the fat you eat is the fat you wear, because it goes directly into your body as fat. It's stored as fat. So you have 240 calories, but now it's different because it's not burned for the first choice. The carbohydrate, the complex carbohydrates, is what the body takes first as fuel to burn. And then when there's no more of that, then it goes to the glycogen storages to burn that, and then it goes to the fat. So here is there is an important difference. Okay, same the amount of fat. That's the difference. So fat is stored as fat, and complex carbohydrates are stored if you don't use all of them, they're stored as glycogen. And what is glycogen? Well, glycogen is a substance, is stored, glycogen is the stored form of glucose that's made up of many, collected glucose molecules, which means sugar. And it is the main source of energy. It comes from carbohydrates in certain foods and in some fluids. So the question is, do you burn glycogen before fat? So your muscles first, you've got to really, let's underline here this, your muscles will first burn stored glycogen for energy. If you're exercising heavily, it will take about an hour, about 60 minutes of aerobic exercise before your body starts to run out of glycogen. And then it will go into fat burning. So what happens with glycogen that is not used? Is it stored as fat, like some people say? Not in very rare occasions. Dr. McDougall explains that. Usually, glycogen that is not used is stored in bodily tissues, mostly under the muscles and in the liver, or it's just burned as heat. And that is explained here in the Starch Solution on page 14. So yeah, it's sad that the poor carbohydrates have gotten such bad press, okay? I'm here with this masterpiece, and Dr. McDougall says, when we consume too much fat, the body looks for a place to store the fat, typically in the belly, buttocks, and thighs. The fat you eat is the fat you wear, quite literally. Starches provide energy and an abundance of nutrients without being stored visibly as fat. Then he goes on to explain on page 22, a widely held myth holds that the sugars in starches are readily converted into fat, which is then stored visibly in our abdomen, hips, and buttocks. If you read the published research, you will see that there is no disagreement about this whatsoever among scientists, and that they say that this is incorrect. And there's a lot of published research. You have it here. These are medical journals. This is not somebody in a garage, writing an article. So after eating, we break down the complex carbohydrates in starchy foods into simple sugars. These sugars are absorbed into the bloodstream, where they are transported to trillions of cells throughout the body for energy. If you eat more carbohydrate than your body needs, listen to this, if you eat more carbohydrates than your body needs, you will store up to 2 pounds of it invisibly in the muscles and liver in the form of glycogen. Most of us whole food plant-based followers are carrying around about 2 pounds of invisible glycogen because it's not stored as fat. It's there for reserves when we need it, and when we do a long fast, that storage is gone in about 24 to 36 hours, sometimes less, and then you go into ketosis and start burning fat. So then he goes on to talk about how fat is the metabolic dollar saved for the next famine. The problem we have in our present day is that that famine never arrives. And so it's always, the fat is always stored. So what is my point here? My point was to show you that when you are trying to refine your diet because you have lost a good amount of weight and now you reached a plateau or you reached equilibrium and it's getting harder to lose weight, then you don't have to count calories, but you have to be more aware of where those calories come from. Anything that is higher in fat, that's why there's that red line there in Chef AJ's chart. Anything that like avocados and chocolate and nuts and seeds, anything like that that is still plant-based and whole foods, it's 70, 80% fat. And so that will make a difference. That will make a difference. So I just wanted to get your thinking wheels turning here. And this will be a topic for another discussion. And I may do another 5-day series in the near future. But there is a process called de novo glycogenesis, like one of you put here, which costs the body a lot of energy to do. So that's why it's not done. That's when in extreme situations of starvation, the body will turn carbohydrates into fat. Storing fat as fat takes about 3% of your calories. And de novo glycogenesis, or let's see, he actually talks about that here. Let me just, because this is very, okay. Turning sugar into fats is a process called de novo lipogenesis. I'm sorry, lipogenesis. Pigs and cows use this process to convert carbohydrates from grains and grasses into calorie-dense fats. Now listen to this. We humans, on the other hand, are very inefficient at converting carbohydrate to fat. We don't do it under normal conditions. The cost for this conversion is 30% of the calories consumed. So then he goes on to talk about an experiment, etc. So these are interesting topics that I think that might be a little overwhelming and scary for a beginner because they have so much in their mind, giving up so many of the things that they think that they cannot live without. But as we get a little more advanced and we really start thinking about how to refine this so that it will work for us, I think this knowledge of a calorie is not a calorie is important. And I hope that these visuals that I've shown you gave you a little bit of an idea of how you could change maybe the way that you think about food. Do you have any questions or comments? And people always throw that myth at you. You will get fat eating carbohydrates. Well, I can see why, and partly I believe that, because the problem is that the confusion out there with what a carbohydrate is immense, and I think it's done on purpose with the animal, the industry.
Yeah, Dr. McDougall comes back and he says, "Oh, that's right. That's why 3 billion Chinese are fat because they eat rice." So, I mean,
Right.
that proves that when you eat carbohydrates, you don't get fat. It's just all the other stuff you eat.
We also see how a lot of these cultures that ate mostly a starch-based diet and plant-based, when they have switched, when they moved to the Western Hemisphere, or when like the standard American diet is available in their countries, they start to get obese and they start to get the same diseases that people get when they eat those foods. So I was going to say something, I forgot. What was it? Oh yeah, let me finish this. People don't understand sometimes the difference between a complex carbohydrate and just a simple carbohydrate. They think that a potato, for example, is the same thing as a piece of chocolate cake. Well, they're both carbs, right? Well, yes and no. One is whole food, and it has a perfect balance of nature of carbohydrates and fat and protein, and the other one is totally out of balance. So I think and that's why Dr. McDougall called this book Starch, even though the publisher didn't really want to call it that way, because it doesn't sound interesting enough. But starch really brings, I mean, most people are not going to think of a piece of chocolate cake as starch. That's more of a carb. But there is so much confusion, yeah, and that is, that's a big part of this problem that we're in. There's a big difference between a portion of steamed sweet potato and a slice of bread. Yes, exactly. Yes. Well, anything else? Any other comment, question, please? Or you can email me if you want to.
Yeah, it's easy to compare like how you were doing last night, per pound. So flour per pound has no water in it, so it's going to be a lot more than boiled or steamed sweet potato, right? Because it's the calorie density.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. One of you asks here, what do you do with going to a friend's house for dinner? Do you eat what they serve, or do you bring your own food? Yeah, no, at this point I don't. I'm sorry. I think I've learned how to be very diplomatic and nice so that they shouldn't get offended if I want to take care of my health. But if I'm not going to eat these things that I know that are going to hurt me. So I do. I either eat at home first, but I always take something with the idea of saying, today I felt like cooking. I was inspired. I made this. I just brought it. Just making no big deal of it. If anybody wants to try it, and so at least I have something that I can eat.
Gustavo, I like the idea that John McDougall started with a 10-day program, because for me, every time that I've detoxed or I've gone off the program and then tried to get back on, it's taken at least 5 days for me to see a result. And so if anybody is considering doing your detox, I think it's really important for people to say to themselves, well, it's only 7 days. But during those 7 days, you will see a result. It's hard. It's the first 5 days are really hard. But then after that, it's almost like your body goes into some kind of overdrive. I don't know what it is. And you're just so excited about the result. Yeah. I think that it's important to give it a try, like just to put in your mind, if you've never done it before, just say, well, it's only 7 days.
Right. I think that that was one of the ideas that I had when I created this. I it's not 10 days, it's not 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's just a week. You can do almost anything for a week. So. But I think that when you see the results, and not only see the results, but when you feel the results, how well you feel, it really is an incentive to want to continue doing it on your own. Um, yeah, let's see. Donna said um, the notes with food. Um, yeah, and the amount of calories was very interesting. Can you point us to where this information is? Yeah, I can point to. It's here. Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I didn't get it from any book or anything. It's just um, stuff. I guess I know. Yeah, I yeah. I don't have it anywhere else. Your body starts functioning on clean carbs. Okay. I recently listened to plant-based lecture where there was a pretty healthy plant-based meal itemized, but by making a few simple changes, it became even more healthy with less calories. Okay. That's okay. Good.
Gustavo,
Yeah. Yeah.
can I talk about your 7-day program for a minute?
Yeah. Who's that?
It's
Oh,
Mary Beth. Mary Beth. Hi. I just wanted to say really quickly that I did Dr. McDougall's 12-day program about 2 years ago with two of my sisters. And one of my sisters has always been very healthy, really good eater, and they both have stuck with it for 2 years. The other sister needed to lose about 50 pounds and she was able to do it too. But I'm like on the other total opposite end. And they keep saying, why can't you do this? We don't get it. And I think for me, there was a piece missing, and it wasn't Dr. McDougall's fault, because I know it wasn't his objective to talk to people who were serious, of the Starch Solution, which was fabulous. But for me, you provided the missing piece I needed, and that was the understanding of my struggle with the food. And, I was just thinking about 3 things about your program. It's so funny. Everything you talked about, I was thinking like the teacher in you, like you take all this salient information that's really complex and you just really explain it so well. It just makes a lot of sense. And the second thing that's been really helpful to me is, being on this end of the spectrum where I eat a ton of, frozen dinners and go to fast food restaurants, your emphasis on simple and whole and fiber and water just helped me move closer to eating better. It wasn't some extravagant meal that I had no clue of what the machine was, even how to cook it. And then the third thing is you're just so passionate. I mean, I just thank you so much. You said earlier, you're personable and you're so humble and kind, and just the suggestions that you give us, like journaling and I had to write it down. Hold on. Oh, and just asking ourselves questions like, is this food going to be good for me? Or what are my goals in my life? What do I want to do? Just everything was the missing piece for me. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you so much.
oh, thank you. Well, I need to hire you as my my publicist.
Let me lose 100 pounds first, and then I will.
Well, thank
No,
you.
I mean it. I'm serious. It was really, yeah, it was the piece I was missing. And thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? That has happened to me where I've attended so many programs and I have gotten pieces from everything. And that's another thing. Basically, my program is I put together the pieces of many that I've attended and that I thought that helped me, and I've combined it here, so that hopefully there's going to be something for everyone. And so you found something that helps. That's great. That's very good. I'm very happy about that.
Mm.
All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you for accompanying me this week. And I think that sometime in the near future, there's going to be a webinar series where I'm going to do the Mary's Mini. Okay. I've never done it. I think it's very interesting. I know a lot about it, but I've never done it. And so I think it would be fun to do it together. And so I will let you know when I do that. I know that Mary's Mini gets a lot of attention, and it's for a reason. It also works, but it's quite different from what I do in my program, but I want to try it. So,
Gustavo, can I ask one question before we stop?
yes.
Can you mention how grains figure into weight loss? Because you didn't mention grains tonight, and that's something that I struggle with. If I overeat on grains, right away I can see it on the scale. So I'm wondering if you could just comment on grains.
Right. Well, yes, I kind of commented a little bit, I think yesterday, but that day that I showed you the calorie content of, let's say, the chickpeas, which was over 7. And I think I put brown rice and white rice there and other legumes. Yes, these things are higher in nothing wins a potato. Okay, so let's say that, and it's true. I think that the potato is the most powerful. Dr. McDougall many times with a joke with himself and say, "I am Dr. Potato," because yeah, the potato is the perfect food. It has. We know that people can live an entire year with just potatoes. So nothing wins that. So what I'm going to say is that if you're having a little bit of a challenge losing weight, if you're stuck, why don't you try a week? Try a week, like we said earlier. A week just seems doable to most people. Oh, it's just 7 days. Try a week where you will focus on potatoes and sweet potatoes. And there are so many ways to make them. You can have baked potatoes. You can make sweet potato fries in the oven. You can do mashed potatoes. You can do my potato supreme. I mean, there are so many ways to eat potatoes that it's easy.
Do you eat the skins, Gustavo? Do you eat the skins?
Sometimes I do. With sweet potatoes, I do. With potatoes, sometimes I don't, because they may not be as clean. If they're organic, if I know that they're organic, then for sure I do. But I don't make a big deal. I mean, when I started this way of eating 10 years ago, I had no clue of what an organic thing was or wasn't. So I was eating everything with skin, without skin, and I didn't die. It's fun.
You're still here. Yeah.
I'm still here. Okay. But yeah, I think that the skin is good. I just sometimes, depending on the type of potato, the skin is too tough and thick, and so I don't eat it. But otherwise, yeah, I think a lot of the nutrients are in the skin. All right. Well,
I'll join you for Mary's Mini.
Hey, yes, I'm gonna try. I hope that you will join me on Sunday for my mini concert. I'll send you the link, and or in my 7-day program, or in another program that I'll do at some point for free. Good evening, everyone. Have a good rest of the.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yes. Bye-bye.